We're back now with Bertie Troy, the owner of Grasstec. Bertie, you're involved in many facets within the agricultural sector. Can you just walk us through some of the areas you're involved in?
So maybe just some background first. I set up the business in 1996, and the company started out making maps of farms. So we use GPS technology to make new maps of farms, maps that are user-friendly for farmers, showing paddock sizes, position of farm roadways. So they're user-friendly version of maps, unlike maybe ordnance survey maps. I suppose the business has evolved over the years, catering for dairy farmers in Ireland and the UK. We do a lot of planning of farmyard developments, where farmers are looking to expand their farmyards. We plan and design milking parlours, cubicle sheds, silage pits. We also have a training platform for livestock where we're helping farmers to either sell livestock or buy livestock. And so we would be the largest exporter of livestock to the UK. And we also have an online presence where we're selling a lot of products such as farm clothing, grass measuring equipment to our customer base.
On the GPS planning, what has the uptake been like on that, and how has it helped farmers?
I suppose it's giving farmers information on their farm. It's like anything, having accurate information of what, they spend a lot of time out in the fields, so they have accurate plans of what the farm they're farming, what paddock sizes they have. For staff as well, every paddock is numbered, so it's user-friendly information that they can communicate with staff or with farm relief or people coming in that reflects their farm basically. So I suppose with those maps it allows us, maybe where farms are expanding and cows numbers are increasing, we can plan bigger paddock sizes, we can plan water systems, we can plan new farm roadways. So I suppose it's really about planning the investment on grazing infrastructure. Grass is the cheapest form of feed, and if you can utilise a lot of grass, you can do that if you've good infrastructure. So I suppose that's where we come in. We help plan the new infrastructure on farm.
And you were involved recently in new projects, expansion projects at Gerteen College and in Palskenry.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your involvement there?
So I suppose like any colleges, and it's probably like any farms, a lot of development would have happened maybe 25, 30 years ago before quotas came in. So I suppose the development was needed in that, farming is changing, they're expanding, and the colleges are the same. I suppose they want to give students an experience of what modern day farming is going to be like. So we would have went in on the remit to basically get an assessment of what the current yard is like, and maybe discuss what are the future requirements of the dairy farm. So we would have looked at a few scenarios in terms of how maybe the cows could be milked more efficiently through a new milking parlour, how additional cubicle housing could be created. So we would have been in there helping, say, the Board of Management in designing those key infrastructural projects. And I suppose then for the colleges, it allows them maybe attract more students if they have modern facilities. And I suppose they can give their students a more relevant education what modern farming practices entail.
Can you give any specific examples of how you've helped to improve efficiencies on farm in terms of labour efficiencies or cost efficiencies?
I suppose if you look at labour efficiencies, I suppose labour is it's quite a limiting factor in a lot of farms. It's hard to get staff, it's hard to retain staff. So I suppose people are doing more on farms. So the way a project needs to be set up, you need to be able to move cows from your cubicle house in the winter to your milking parlour efficiently. You need to be able to clean areas quickly. So it's all about how you set up the farm. You need to set it up efficiently with minimal staff requirement. So it's all about just having an idea. I suppose the people who work with me have all farming backgrounds. They're engineers by trade, so they understand how to design a farm. So it's really keeping it labour efficient.
How does the dairy sector compare to other sectors when it comes to embracing the GPS planning or these kind of new innovations?
I suppose one of the key differences is the dairy farm sector. I suppose they have the cash flow. I suppose they have a better margin business, unlike say a beef and sheep sector. It's easier for them to invest. It's easier for them to borrow money because they have a better repayment capacity. So I suppose it's easier to adopt technology when you're getting paid somewhat better for your product than other sectors. So, but in fairness, like the younger generation especially, adopted technology. You know, they're able to use their phone, so they're not afraid of technology, and they're early adopters.
So it is, demographic-wise, it is the younger generation maybe who are showing more interest or pursuing
I think they are, yeah. But look, I think anyone will, no matter what age you are, if they find something that'll make it easier, if there's an element of technology, they're not afraid. Once it's practical and relevant, I find that they'll adopt and embrace the technology.
And you mentioned, Bertie, that you're one of the biggest livestock exporters over to the UK on the dairy side.
Yes.
Brexit obviously is coming down the tracks. How will you be impacted?
I suppose time will tell. You know, if it's a hard Brexit or a soft Brexit. I suppose on the livestock side, the UK it's a net importer of livestock. The national herd would drop without imports. So, you know, I don't see that changing. I suppose, like, you know, something that's different in the UK, to hear the UK dairy farmer sees Brexit as an opportunity. They see 70 or 80,000 tonnes of cheddar that's coming from Ireland to the UK annually. They see that being stopped, so they see that as an opportunity then that there'll be more demand for their milk product. So British dairy farmers are embracing Brexit, as opposed to maybe the beef and sheep sector is highly subsidised. So they feel quite threatened by it, but the British dairy farmer is looking forward to Brexit.
That's unusual to hear.
Yes.
Bertie, your business seems to be very focused on expansion and how you can kind of help with expansion and help people to improve their businesses. Are you concerned at all about the sustainability of expansion, or the sustainability of the dairy sector in light of the challenges throughout this year on a climate front? Yeah,
look, it's been a very challenging year, but I think it's 1976 since we had maybe a drought like what we had this summer. Equally in 1994, I think we had maybe more cows than we have now. You know, so I think it's it's a unique year. I hope it's a one-off. Yes, it could happen again, but look, I think it's unfair maybe to knock the industry given what year we've had this year. I think, you know, it's just 1 year in 30 or 40 years, hopefully. But I do think every dairy farmer or every farmer will assess the sustainability of their system, in terms of maybe having sufficient silage, having sufficient reserves in their system, to insulate themselves better going forward.
And do you think, as the rate as it's going at the moment on expansion, do you think that is sustainable?
Look, I do think it's sustainable for another while anyway. I know in New Zealand, obviously they've hit a ceiling, but look, I think with the help of Teagasc, Department of Agriculture and the co-ops, I think everyone is conscious of the whole sustainability issue. I think all farmers want to farm environmentally, to a high environmental standard. So I do see farmers embracing this whole sustainable challenge, and I think they'll work with it and work towards it.
Labour is obviously a very big issue on the dairy side at the moment. Do you think that could impact as well on potential expansion plans in the future?
I guess it is. Look, we need to get foreign labour in from, say, you know, maybe some countries outside of the EU. Yes, it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge in every sector in Ireland at the moment. Electricians, plumbers, nurses, farming is not unique. It's a challenge for every sector. And it's just a challenge in every sector, so farming is no different. So look, I see it being overcome, but hopefully maybe there'll be more visas released to people outside of the EU to help on the farm labour side.
And Bertie, can you tell me a bit about any future plans that you have now over the course of the next couple of years at Grasstec? What areas are you targeting?
Maybe just looking maybe the whole sensor technology and its application on farms, giving information back to farmers real time through phones, so maybe collaboration with some companies on that. So, but it's really just it's trying to deliver a good quality service to our farmers, customer base already, and continue that.
Thank you very much for coming in to us, Bertie. We'll leave it there, and now it's over to Connor, who's at the Lily.